series finale, I was left with one question, and it was, does anybody actually win this game? Technically, spoiler alert ahead, if you do not want the Secession finale spoiled, come back another time, pin this, bookmark it, and then you can come back to it. But you could say that Tom Wamsgams, whose name I can never pronounce, Wamsgams, was the technical winner, becomes the American CEO of the Gojo Waystar merger. And this TikTok started going viral just a couple of days before the finale. And I want to give full credit, so I'm going to have her explain how she correctly predicted how this would go in the Secession series finale. Take a listen.
The real reason he was given the last name Wamsgans is because of this guy. This is Bill Wamsgans, an MLB player during the early 20th century. He is remembered for one thing, and that is completing the only unassisted triple play in World Series history. He took out 3 players at once in what is essentially the finale of baseball. It's no coincidence that Tom shares a surname with Bill Wamsgans, so you have to wonder if Tom will complete an unassisted triple play and take out all 3 of the Roy siblings to become the leader of Waystar Royco in the Succession finale.
And she was right, kind of. So one of the producers of the show, Frank Rich, he's a longtime theater critic and now produces a bunch of projects, including Secession, did do an interview saying that this is not correct, that this is simply happenstance. But I don't buy that, because everything in the names, from Shiv Roy being a Shiv to Kendall Logan Roy, his initials being Killer, to Roman Roy, to Roy itself, the last name meaning king in French, and linguistically tying all that back together. You cannot tell me that this name was just willy-nilly thrown together and happens to also be the name of an obscure baseball player whose claim to fame is an unassisted triple play in the World Series. And this is my ultimate TED Talk, that Secession is sports. Secession is sports. It's because we had a sports tie in the end. And it was a game. And Tom is named CEO. And does he really win? Ultimately, he is seen as a pain sponge, someone who is nothing more than a figurehead with limited power. But he looks powerful, and that has a lot to do with what is power, what is winning. If you look to be the one who won the game, I guess technically said you can be the winner. And he played his cards right. He became Logan's right-hand man. He went from being Shiv's kind of bumpy husband, dumpy husband, to being the most important person in the show at the end of it. Do you have a question?
If the goal is to run the company, then he won.
But he doesn't technically run the company. Is
anybody pleased with themselves at the end of this?
No, and I think it's
does the misery continue for everybody?
I love how this show went. I thought it was a really great finale. I thought it was nearly a perfect finale. I can understand how perhaps some people watched it and wished that there was a bigger twist, a crazier. We don't. This show was so true to itself. It was just a simple office space meeting is how it ends. And so much so that as Kendall is going down in the elevator after losing, just some accountant comes into the elevator. And that is office culture in a nutshell. You just had this wildly climactic event in your life, but then you hop in that elevator, that person doesn't care, and you just got to ride down. And that's business. And that's what this was at the end of the day. And I think it was both a note on business and also on families. And my biggest thing I was left with was how difficult cycles are to break. All of these kids are wrapped up in the cycles of their lives. Yes, you saw Kendall continue to emerge into essentially a recreation of his father, complete with some light abuse on his brother. His brother had a scar on his head, and he buried his head in a hug and ripped that scar right open. And if you look back on earlier in the series, Logan, the father, had slapped Roman, and the kids had come to the defense. And now here Kendall has kind of fully shifted into being his dad. Can you escape? What kind of work would you have to put in to escape becoming your father when that is such like a central part of your existence? You want to run the company. You ultimately want to have the same legacy that your dad had on the American media cycle. So Kendall is that. Roman, the final scene you see him in, he's drinking a martini. He's in a bar. It's exactly how he started in the series. He's kind of lost. He's the F up of the family. And you don't really have a lot of confidence that there's any other path forward for him but to be sitting in a lot of bars, drinking a lot of drinks for the rest of his existence. And then when it comes to Shiv, who is the one who pulled the trigger on her brothers and didn't give the final vote necessary for Kendall to take over as CEO and for it to stay in the family, and she ultimately decides to go a different direction, she becomes her mom. Like, she takes the path that leads her to being the wife of Tom in a loveless marriage. The final scene of them is barely holding hands. It's the lamest handhold you've ever seen in the back of a limo. There's not a lot there. There's not a lot of hope that relationship can be anything but she's pregnant and she's going to have an heir. And the son or daughter of that couple, and if they have more children in the future, will once again align with that family continuing to be in power. So she chooses to be a powerless queen, and the power dynamics of her and Tom's relationship have shifted, whereas now she's just the woman. She lost. She thought that she won. She thought she was going to be CEO. She has to give it up to her husband. But in order to stay attached to power and to not have to give it up to her brother, it's the choice that she made. And so it's those cycles along with, we're all just our own inner child. Like, these are all just kids. And I thought the finale did a really good job of showing the moments of them having fun together, which made it more difficult to stomach seeing their relationship end so fractured, because there was a scene where they're all just in the kitchen at their mom's little vacation house and they're making this disgusting smoothie that apparently the actor who played Kendall, Jeremy Strong, who is a method actor, a capital M method actor, he actually drank it and there was real spit in the smoothie. The smoothie was concocted of milk, Tabasco hot sauce, bread crust, Branston pickle, raw eggs, cocoa powder, and Shiv's spit. And he drank it. Because that's cinema, baby. I can't even say, bravo. Way to be committed to your part.
There's
that's
no
just
reason
disgusting.
to do that. There's no reason to do that. You do that
but he
so
did
we
it.
talk about it.
But he did it. But you have this moment where they're all just being kids again. And you realize ultimately it's the childhood dynamic of fighting within a family and, oh, my brother, my sister has this. Well, I want it. Well, I don't want him to have it if I can't have it. And that ultimately is their demise, their downfall. But what is a downfall when you still have hundreds of millions of dollars? Like, they're so rich, but they didn't win the crown, the metaphorical crown, the Shakespearean crown of CEO of continuing to run the company. So I actually have one clear winner, who is none of the people that I mentioned, and it's Willa. Willa is the winner of Secession because she is the wife of Connor, and Connor is going to get schlepped off to Slovenia. She's not going to have to live with this man who she doesn't really love. She's young, she's hot, she's an artist. She's going to write her play. She's going to buy a cow print couch, which I appreciate. Bring back the cow print. I had a cow print hat back in the day, so we can bring this back in. Of course I did. It was a bucket hat.
Of course it was.
It was. And she's living in Logan Roy's $100 million, multi-million-dollar townhome in New York City. Like, that is a winner. She doesn't have to do anything. She's an artist who can just rest on all the money, not have to be with the guy that she doesn't really love all that much, occasionally have the pop-in, and she wins on her cow print couch. And that is Secession.
All right.
I'm the eldest boy was the best quote, the most Shakespearean of all, as Kendall was trying to make one last attempt at having her vote him in. And his simple answer, why he should get it, I'm the eldest boy.
You don't have siblings.
No, so I understand.
But
I don't get that part.
That's how things go. I ride in the front seat. Why? Because I came out first. I'm the oldest. There are things that I get with being the oldest. There are things you get with being the youngest or the middle child. Everybody has a role to play. All right? Know your role, shut your mouth. And you guys know I have physically moved my brother out of the front seat of the car as a grown-up.
Yes.
In our 20s. Why? Did I want the front seat? No, the car's going to get there at the same damn time. Is it a little bit more legroom? Sure, but it's not enough to really matter. But it's a principle behind it. And all I'm saying is, if the oldest child had whooped up on the youngest ones and pulled them out of the front seat when they were children, he'd have the company by now. He wouldn't have to deal with any of this. Everybody would know their place. Shut the hell up and get in line.
As
Younger
an only
siblings.
child, I am the line.
No, you have no clue about this.
No clue.
The power dynamic of siblings is wild.
Which I think honestly was one of many. This show will go down as, I hope that it changes television again. Every now and then we have these shows that change TV. And I think this brings back procedurals Like, yes, it is a drama. Yes, it is critically prestige TV of being one of these HBO Max, emphasis on the Max, shows. But every single hour of Succession is its own story. Like, the plot moves. It's not just this big old blob of tens of hours of content that you have to sit through and binge. You can watch each of those episodes, you can marinate in each of those episodes and understand how the plot worked, how the characters, how the writing helped craft this story and craft this world, and you're left with a series finale where you can use your imagination. There's a lot of different avenues that you can imagine these characters going. Does Kendall kill himself? I don't think so. He's too much of a narcissist to kill himself. But you can look at him looking out at the water as the last shot and think, oh, there is a myriad of different ways this can go. And I think that is a testament to a really well-created show that leaves you thinking about it for a long time.